Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome, everyone here, and well zooming, everyone. Thank you. You must be all be wondering whether we are going to do it or not. The rain has been saturating here, so we're greeting her. Anyway, so thank you, everybody, once again. It's nice to have all of your diligent, consistent company here. We are slowly weaving through this monumental text of Rongton on the perfection of wisdom, and tonight we're going to continue where we left last week. But first of all, take a couple moments to tune up your mind and intention and attention of the purpose why we're going to listen and reflect and think on this is so that it will have many ripple effect and benefit to other sentient beings, particularly we intend. That's our best hour of intention. So sure, our time and effort we need to give this time and energy too, but the purpose of that is not so much just temporarily how we may learn something tonight, but how many of the learnings will manifest, because these teachings are very vast and deep practices. These are not some just to how to cook a meal or something like that. Even that you got to get a couple of ingredients, and still you don't get it quite right in a few tries. You should have tried. Should have seen how I try to do some cookings. Takes a lot of effort just to do simple things. So take a couple of moments, and we will firstly renew our refuge. We are still in the very blessed Sagadawa. 2 more days to go. So very good to rejoice. The fully enlightened Buddha's era has not elapsed, but still in the probably not peak of it. Probably sort of it has plateaued a bit. 2,565 is right in the middle of the 5,000-year era. So we have opportunity to expand the Dharma. World needs it so much. So Buddha's teaching is fresh and valid and true and amazingly inspiring and liberating, as it always is. So it's really good to think of the Buddha and his many lifetimes genuine bodhisattvic deeds that made his enlightenment such amazing achievements. And therefore we are here as a fellowship as a result of that. And so any kind of gift and realization, understanding we have these to give to our people, how we may interact with them. So therefore we have good reason to dedicate the motivation with which we listen, reflect and think and try to understand with good altruistic motivation, with devotion to the Triple Gem and gratitude to our fellow sentient beings, friends, and everybody who makes these things possible. Years ago, I don't think we never had thing called NBN. I don't think this Zoom would have worked at all. So all those people who work on the high electricity, poles, and try to fix them with the uniforms hat and with the chains and being tied up there, working in a very perilous places and making sure that all the NBN is established and set up, or digging so many meters below the ground and going through the mountains and gorges and deserts, and you wouldn't believe it has taken almost like bodhisattvas, really bodhisattva work. I mean, electricity must be pretty powerfully bodhisattvic work. We call it electricity power. I mean, Dharma is powerful, but it makes it even more powerful when you have NBN. So should see the Dharma as electricity. It will electrify your life and mind and bring power. We have power. They call it. We have power. It's a very, in India, India has a nuclear weapon, but 30% of its population still have no power. just so lopsided. But we have power, but we have useful power. So thank goodness. So we should rejoice all the amazing people who have given their work to make electricity and NBN and Zoom. It's a very peanut cost, the thing, to do this. So we have many things to rejoice as we do these prayers of four immeasurables, loving kindness and bodhicitta as we renew the refuge. Thank you very much. Please do that. O in the Buddha Dharma Sangha Hajere Vede Ladam Bhavachu Ayevendala Hajare Vada Hendabu Dharma Sangha Hajere Vede Ladam Bhavachu Ayevendala Hajare Vada Hendabu Dharma Sangha Hajere Vede Ladam Bhavachu Ayevendala Hajare Vada happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never from the happiness that no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from judgment and aversion to those near and far. May hobbies happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from judgment and aversion to the near and far. May hobbies happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never from the happiness that knows no suffering. May that dwell equanimity, free from attachment and avoid to those near and far, good into the intelligent and better position of it, the turn the Dharma, agrelo and come goes. So now tonight we have reached to a point where usually you don't hear much about in the perfection of wisdom teachings, because usually you hear about the perfection of wisdom, 6 perfections, which are generosity, self-discipline, patience, diligence, meditation, and perfection of wisdom itself, the 6 paramitas. Tonight we're going to talk about the aspects of the 10 paramitas. What are the in addition to the 6 paramitas, in this extensive teaching, it talks about 4 additional paramitas. So we're going to start with the 7th one. The 7th one is called Upaya paramita. Upaya means skillful method, full of skill in methodically how to benefit sentient beings. Even if you are a very generous person, even if you have discipline, but if you don't have the skill to use your discipline for the ripening of yourself and benefiting others, you may appear to be very rigid and very righteous person if you're very disciplined. So if one is not skillful with any of the above practices, one couldn't benefit others very much. Some people are very meticulous, live their life by the Dharma, by the text, but their benefit to others very, very limited. That's because they haven't quite got the skillfulness. So upaya paramita, upaya. So we're going to discuss these paramitas exactly under the same outline as before. Firstly, you armor your intention to practice skillful method, and then actually engage in the actual implementation of the skillfulness in any of the formal practices. What would have you? So when we talk about the armoring your intention, first you have to have a good, very strong determination to be skillful. The determination to not only practice generosity or not only practice patience, but have to be determined to be skillful, that it has benefit to others. Otherwise, you might be right by the book, but where you came across didn't benefit to it at all. So therefore, one has to have the motivation, the very determined motivation, like that of an earth, to benefit others by learning how it will work, by doing this way skillfully to tame this kind of person, tailor this method to this kind of person or this kind of subjects, so to speak. So one need to tailor the skillfulness with the determination like the earth. And then the motivation also, not only you want to have skillfulness, determined to help others, but you need to have a motivation that actually benefit them and not become sort of wearied by the effort that it takes. So therefore intention should be extraordinarily sincere, pure, like the gold motivation, gold-like. And so when you are employing your skillful means, you don't just try your best shot and it doesn't work, then you just give up. That's not that kind of thing. So even things didn't work with lots of determination you employ, but it didn't work, you should try to find another method to improve on that to reach their need rather than push your own way. So that's the goal. The goal is you need to have an untarnishable, unrusting nature of the bodhicitta motivation. And as a result of that, your benefit to others is now waxing like the moon. So previously the benefit was very nil. There was a bit of even tension. Now the benefit to others is waxing, and waxing like a moon, and so does it to you. Of course, mutually waxing, mutually beneficial. So that's called what you call armoring the intention. The first three analogies are the earth, the gold, and the moon are all to do with armoring the intention. And then the second one, which is implementation, application of the skillfulness itself, is the how to actually applying the skillfulness itself, and the application of your skillfulness shouldn't be very kind of unmotivated and always not quite there. It should be like a fire. Your implementation of the skillfulness should be very much like a fire. Application of all paramitas, including upaya paramita, should be very much engaged like a fire. Fire doesn't hesitate to burn, and it always, the flame goes up. Likewise, your implementation effort, skillful means, not only should be like a fire, will incinerate the unskillfulness or difficulties, but it also progresses and increases. So that's the first part. Now the second part is how to lay the foundation of the Four Noble Truths. Yeah? Laying the foundation of the Four Noble Truths. This is contextualizing each of the paramitas in relation to your practice of skillfulness. So unskillfulness is the truth of origin of all sufferings. Yeah, if you have problem with someone, it's because you have been unskillful. You might think it's their fault, but no. But Paramita practitioners, we have not been very skillful, and because of that, the true origin of our suffering is the unskillfulness. Tapchinjilo to Shukpa in Tibetan, meaning that your method has been completely gone in other direction. Instead of being gentle to the person, it came across very aggressive. Instead of encouraging them, you are really, really off-putting or demeaning or off-putting them or bullying them or disparaging them or whatever. So your method has been completely unskillful, and so you can find you are miserable later on. Later on, you were miserable because your origin of your method was completely unskillful, and then it produced a lot of unhappiness, miserable. So the true origin of suffering is unskillfulness. And the truth of suffering is all the suffering that flow from that, So the river of suffering flows for days and days and days until one corrects them. Until one corrects them, one is still drowned in that sorrow. You wouldn't believe how many people still in the sorrow of the past unskillfulness, and they are not able to amend them, and they're still suffering. So their suffering, the truth of suffering is suffering that originated from their own unskillfulness, be that attitude, be their opinion, be their physical behavior, be their verbal behavior, be their way they communicate or way they don't communicate. So then the sorrow, river of sorrow is the truth of origin. Truth of suffering is their own making. And so does the first true noble truth of suffering, truth of origin. And then the third is the truth of the path. What is the noble truth of the path? Is the skillful means. Skillful, the word, English words, this I like it really. Skillful, not partially there, not just shallowly there, not just for 1 quarter full, not 3 quarters full. It's fully at the brim. Full at the brim, isn't it? Full at the brim, yeah, it's very good. Full at the brim. Your skillfulness is adequate and to the liking of you and other and everybody else. Like Buddhas, we say the prayer to the Tabke Tukje, Shakye Rusuru, with skillful means you have deliberately chosen to be born in the family of the Shakyas through your great compassion, Yeah. So we're talking about the Buddha's one of the quality is skillfulness, completely comprehensive skillfulness. So skillfulness is the mind and the noble truth of the path. All the Eightfold Path, one need to be implemented, as well as 6 parameters, as well as the 4 immeasurables, as well as the refuge. One need to look at all of those avenues, how one can upskill oneself to tailor, to tame, to soothe, to nurture, to encourage, instead of being aggressive, and attacking, accusing, that sort of thing. So one actually learns what is harmful, and one is restrained what is harmful. One checks what is helpful. One deliberately try to do them, and that way, then one is able to bring oneself and others onto the noble truth of the path. Noble truth of the path. So the skillfulness itself is the noble truth of the path. And then the truth of cessation is devoid of any unskillful behavior. Devoid of any unskillful behavior. Absence of any unskillfulness. So that's pretty, you have to reach 7th bhumi, 7th bhumi. The 7th paramita, upaya paramita, is which earns you the 7th paramita. So the truth of cessation is a little bit of, we have to just aim for that, but totally devoid of any unskillfulness would be perfect Buddha, So everybody will have, even they are teaching saying in comparison to Buddha's wisdom and compassion and skillfulness, many of the arhats had not even a small portion of the skillfulness of the Buddha. Like a story of Moggallanaputra. Moggallanaputra is one of the most miraculous arhats of the Buddha. Of course, all the arhats can show miracles, but Moggallanaputra was Buddha's very two key disciples. One is Shariputra, one is Moggallana. Moggallanaputra was rich arhatship and so on, but he had many skills that is beyond ordinary people's imagination. But in comparison, Buddha, he had very limited scope, and one of the limited scope was that he went to hell. He has the miraculous power to go to hell and visit his mother and repair kindness. And then he saw all the other people who are reborn there, and then he came back to earth, and then he told the people who were followers of other religion, and their religious leader was reborn there, And he shouldn't have told, but he told them, your teacher's reborn in hell. So he shouldn't have told, You know what happened? He was stoned to death. He was stoned to death by all the followers of the religious teacher. So it was not really useful for him to say that. So unskillful, unskillful say that. So that shows even arhats don't have full to the brim of skill. They don't have their skill is not kept quite yet full to the brim. So we should always see certain inadequacy in ourselves and others as well. So be kind to each other. Don't expect too much from deluded people. But you can see they are trying their best. You should think like that. That's very skillful. Even if he make lots of mistakes, but you say he's really trying his best. It's really good. That's a skillful comment. Skillful comment. Skillful comment. So the one who is totally devoid of any unskillfulness is the truth of cessation, noble truth of cessation. That's laying the foundation of 4 noble truths. So that's finished. Now the skillfulness itself, the subject itself. How many kinds of skillfulness we are talking about? There are 3 types of skillfulness. The 3 types of skillfulness are a skillful method in perfecting wholesome deeds within yourselves. First of all, you need to develop skillful methods in yourself. Second is a skillful method to restrain your own weakness and faults. So skillful method to accept and work with one's own faults and limitations. And that means you don't think about other people's faults when you have plenty. So skillfulness to mind your own faults. And so those who have skillfulness, they can see the faults of others as well. That's not a problem. But they just don't mind it. They have enough problems of their own. So skillfulness of mind their own, restrain their own obstacles, and admit them, and amend them, and confess them, and reject them, and then correct them. This is skillfulness of working with one's own limitations. So that means you will not be. This is skillfulness of rejecting one's own faults. Means you do not develop the skill in minding and being concerned with other people's unskillfulness. It particularly to tell other people's mistake to other people. It's very unskillful. It's got no benefit whatsoever. If you can contain your own faults, that will be good. So the third one is skillful method in admitting others into virtuous ways through your skillful means. Yeah. So if you have skillful virtuous qualities insofar as minding your own obstacles and developing certain wholesome qualities, you will have certain influence, power to direct others, admitting others into the virtuous path. That's what the Buddha was. In fact, Buddha was highly unknown. Those days they don't have any personal managers. Buddha would have needed amazing personal manager, don't you think? If he exists these days. Sakya Pandita said, if the flower has honey, even the bees from distant places will come to you. So when Buddha was so skillfully enlightened, and he was hiding everywhere, everybody came to find him, and so his word and his teaching spread so far because his benefit was so much. So these are the three, okay? These are the three. But first we talk about the first one. The first one has 6, yeah? The first one, skillful method to perfect and improve your own wholesome qualities. This is very important. Here the Rongton is giving you the concept of 4 conditions in Buddhism. We not only talk about causes, we also talk about conditions. So if you're going to be skillful, you need to see the conditions as well as the causes. So you need to condition some things. You have to condition some things to make the effect of the benefit to flow to others through your own skillful means. So firstly, it says that the causal condition of being able to maintain and boost your own faith in the Dharma. Yeah. Causal condition. So causal condition of maintaining and boosting your faith in the Dharma. So let's talk about that first, because that means that you have the ability to sow the seed of faith in yourself about the Dharma, about the Triple Gem, about the practice of perfection, wisdom, and so on. And so you sow the seed, like say you germinate the seed of bodhicitta in you, and then secondly, try to increase the faith, not dented by difficulties, but increase the faith. And then, so therefore, what are we talking about? Seed the causes of wholesome things. The wholesome things are faith, firstly faith, and then increase the faith. Wholesome things are diligence. First sow the seed of diligence that you don't have, and then increase the diligence. For instance, those you don't do, try to do them. And those you didn't do what they're doing, you try to do the quality of those things, yeah? So you try to increase the diligence. Third is increase the clarity in the meditative concentration. So your wholesome qualities of faith, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. These are 4. So you need to germinate the seed and boost the quality of your faith, and quality of your germinate the seed of your diligence, and boost the qualities of diligence. Boost the quality of diligence means you don't show some kind of sort of very kind of sprint run kind of diligence. All of a sudden you want to do a lot, and then you just completely lost no interest whatsoever. No, slowly first sow the seed skillfully. Don't try to take up things too much too quickly. Take something slowly until it roots in you, be that faith, be that diligence, be that meditation, be that wisdom. Then slowly try to boost the faith and diligence and the meditation and the wisdom, that you can see some incremental growth and skill in your own faith. Your positivity has boosted, and in so doing. So that's the first of the six types of skillful means how to causal condition of being able to boost faith in your diligence, in your meditation, in your wisdom, and so on. The second is possessive conditioning. Possessive conditioning meaning the condition that you already possess. Maybe you already have certain qualities and goodness in you. Possessive conditioning of being able to closely guard it. Those faith and wisdom and compassion and diligence you have, like say you used to do so many things, maybe certain things 4 days a week or 3 times a week or a couple of hours in the community, so kind of volunteering somewhere or whatever. Try to maintain those things, so guard those possessive conditioning of being able to closely guard the qualities that you had before without depleting it, So meaning is, maintain that, maintain the quality that you already have. So that means you don't pick one and drop that and pick one and drop, not like that. Do something good, carefully. Don't take up too quickly. And once you start then slowly maintain that. Try to improve the qualities. Try to improve the quality. This is a possessive conditioning. Skillfulness of possessing that quality that people know, yeah, he will do it. Or he will. You just don't even worry that he won't do it. Because if he said he will do it, there are people I know. If he wouldn't do very easily. But if he say he will do it. The others, they say yes, but he has the possessive quality of not doing any of that, of the bad habit. So don't take up too many when you can't do much, but take those you really will and try to therefore show some significance, almost sign that you have touched it. You actually laid your hands on it, and people can see, look at this. That's where he started, and that's where he have finished. And then this skillfulness it's called possessive conditioning. Then you will earn. It become natural kind of siddhi of you. Siddhi of person who will do when he says he will do. And then he has a possessive conditioning of being able to closely guard it. So it means he will not lose it. Relevant. If the person and his quality drifts apart, that's a sign of a deficiency is skillful means, So, one should not drift one's possessive qualities. Say, if you're good at doing certain things, try to boost them, improve on that. Don't take up other things too much too soon. Just try to improve on that, and then you're not drifting away the possessive qualities you have, and you're going to sort of see you're actually building your quality in that because you're not letting it go drifting apart. So if the person in his possessive qualities is not drifting away, that is skillfulness. But if they are drifting away, that's deficiency of skillfulness. And faith, then if it's drifting away, his faith will lose, and then he would be discouraged. He will leave something he did long time, and all of a sudden he just left it in disarray. And the people say, why did he leave that so abruptly? And the person himself feels like shame to go back to, and that they will lose a lot of self-esteem and effectiveness or benefit to others. So that's why don't take up too much, but those you take, you have to have the skill to not drift away from the skill, but try to boost the skill that you have. If your faith and confidence goes in the same direction that you have developed too, then of course, if your faith goes to the right direction, that's good. If your faith goes to possessing to benefit of others, if you goes to to destroy your enemies and practicing favoritism to some people, that means your faith has been hijacked by nepotism or favoritism. So you have to be very equanimous if you have a possessive conditioning to have a quality that people can count, because people know if your qualities are very lopsided, you only do this to others and you don't do someone. So therefore it's good to have some kind of a possessive conditioning that you actually guard it, and people can really count on that. Now, there's quite a lot of following teachings on that. This is mainly on this particular second point of the possessive conditioning of being able to closely guard it. It says the thief of conception can infiltrate one's mind. So if you have a lot of thoughts, if you have a lot of conception of doubts or anxiety, they can infiltrate your what you are trying to do. So your possessive quality could be infiltrated by doubts and second thoughts about it. That's why people's faith couldn't continue. They just all of a sudden they have a death of a motivation, and that is called antidote has turned upside down. Meaning that, the antidote is not visible there. Antidote not visible there. So when we say the infiltration of one's mind by the thief means that you were doing something well, all of a sudden your mind was tipped over by doubt, suspicion, things like that. So therefore your mind has been infiltrated by thief. This means the thief steals things without you noticing that they are taking. Likewise, even though one appears as practicing Dharma, outwardly one may practicing Dharma, do you wish to attain enlightenment, Or without the mind of renunciation, one is merely cherishing worldly pleasures, One is only seeking worldly happiness and fame for this life, or reward, or recognition, or self-importance. If one is after this kind of things will possess you. So even though one is assuming as one is doing virtuous things outwardly, one is actually looks like one is studying, looks like one is contemplating, looks like one is meditating, yet one is unaware that one is actually drifting away or infiltrated by kind of a pseudo practices in the worldly activities. So one will not gain even higher rebirth that one may be wishing for from doing this, because one has no renunciation from this world. One actually don't have renunciation from the selfishness. One actually is trying to do very much safe. It's for the benefit of others. It's only primarily working for one's own benefit alone. So that's what it's called. And your mind will be infiltrated by thief of conception. Because of the failure to realize one's own self-infiltration of one's own confusion, then it says the antidote has turned upside down. So it's one who sees that the Dharma that one is practicing is that to remedy one's selfishness. But instead of remedying the selfishness, it has actually made oneself more selfish. One has actually become more selfish. So that's why antidote has turned upside down. If one has considered oneself as a Dharma practitioner, and adopt the name for it, as others also hold oneself with respect as a Dharma practitioner. Now one's practices become physically and verbally externalized. Yeah, outwardly you are actually showing off a practice, but one starts to behave exceedingly as if one is peaceful and subdued, very virtuous, disciplined in the eyes of others, thinking that if one fails to behave that way, people will not be kind to me, will will not respect me, and will not have faith, will not support, and so on. Thus, with such questionable conduct and attitude, letting such misguided conception to grow within, however good a conduct may be revealed externally, this will not be considered as actual practice of Dharma. So this is pseudo-skillfulness. Pseudo-skillfulness to behaving outwardly as if it's skillfulness, but deep down one is not detecting one's ulterior motives. So this is the possessive kind of conditioning. The possessive conditioning are completely opposite. Outwardly one possesses the kind of a look-alike, a kind of a selfless and proper or whatever, but deep down one is possessed by still ulterior motives. So therefore, one needs to learn how to detect the possessive conditioning that has a outer show of one and inner nature of another. Like the surface of the wound covered with the fat while hiding the shrapnel where the arrow is stuck inside, it will not do. So the actual shrapnel has lodged into the flesh, and you have not doing nothing about it. The outward put a very band-aid outside, So this is self-deception and deceiving of others. Since it is motivated by none other than the selfish motivation, it is without a doubt truth of origin of suffering. We were talking before, unskillfulness. In thinking one is trying to be skillful, it might become exactly the very unskillfulness itself. Very itself. So that's the second point, how the antidote become upside down. Third point is saying that the deity has arrived too late. So deity has arrived too late. This means that that one actually do not practice the actual Dharma now, but one will always say, I'll practice Dharma later. And in the meantime, one is not doing the actual practice. One is always procrastinating and planning to do it later, planning to do it next year. Failure to recognize one's own mistake of the procrastination has made the antidote to become ineffective. Then one becomes sort of disheartened by the ineffectiveness of Dharma. It's because one's unskillfulness, one is possessive conditioning of not only actually learning to get rid of the actual possessive conditioning. So one should have the possessive conditioning of being able to closely guard it. Instead, one has a possessive conditioning of closely losing it. Very, very, very much the losing itself. And fourth point is that Dharma conduct has gone astray, meaning however outward Dharma conduct one may display, it has gone astray, although one is engaged in physical and verbal virtues or traditional kind of rituals or ceremonies or actual what appears to be what called Dharma activities, one is actually seeking worldly gains and do not tolerate any sufferings, When it comes to tough suffering, they don't tolerate anything. So they want to practice Dharma with the tolerating suffering. But a practitioner of Dharma should tolerate sufferings. So therefore, the very conduct that one has to guard has lost to the aversion to the suffering. So that is not skillful, is it? That's a possessive conditioning of not being able to guard the real practice of Dharma. This can be realized through the duo of practice and rejection. Practice and rejection, what you should adopt and what should you reject. These two things. If one is skillful, one needs to know what is to be rejected, what is to be practiced. But during the preparation, one cannot give up hope. So one is actually hoping some worldly gains and rewards and recognition and so on and so forth. During the actual time of practice, one cannot give up attachment. One is too attached to whatever the worldly things are, and one cannot give up doubt. So the beginning there's too much hope, in the end there's too much doubt, in the middle there's attachment. So if one is possessed by this, one will not have the possessive skillful conditioning of benefiting others. One has exactly possessive conditioning of jeopardizing the very skillfulness that you try to achieve. What are at fault here? Without knowing that seeking worldly gains and pleasure is a mistaken conception that has adopted as the practice. So one has adopted to become pleasurable or pleasant things. One doesn't want to work with difficulties. One doesn't want to work with sufferings. One doesn't want to work with difficulties. Skillfulness is being able to tolerate the difficulties. One who is impatient, one who hasn't shown any resilience and tolerance to practice is not skillful. So one is possessed by the so-called pseudo practice of Dharma as skillfulness. When it comes to difficulty, then one doesn't want to do. One has no sign of renunciation at all. Renunciation is not escapism. Renunciation is realizing one's own aversion to difficulties. Is one need to renounce, not the difficulties. Difficulty themselves is not renounceable by renouncing. If you renounce one difficulty, another one will meet you next corner, and they will always waiting in queue. So one's aversion to the difficulties has to be renounced. So therefore, without knowing that suffering is the forerunner of happiness, one rejected, So suffering, enduring suffering, and to the benefit of sentient beings, and to exhaustion of karma, and a remedy of your pride, one must face sufferings. That is the skillfulness. And so benefit and forerunner of happiness, but the result of this Buddha's enlightenment is the happiness we're talking about, not just happiness of the sensory pleasure. So Buddha suffered so many years until his skin and skeleton remain, But his ability to benefit Dharma with people with Dharma is because he endured the sufferings. As a result of that, he was skillful. He skillfully gave up his comfort and status and possession and positions. Not that he didn't like pleasure, but he realized that pleasure is so demeaning to one's growth. It is temporarily pleasing the skin level kind of pleasure, but deep down it doesn't do anything. So he rejected it. So if the practitioner who want to develop skillfulness, they must face difficulties and they must show patience with difficulties. Often it is like that, isn't it? When people, as soon as they find difficult working with somebody, they don't want to work with them at all. That's where the practice actually begins. So one has to be skillfulness not to give up on each other and still think that we have a lot to learn from this and not reject them as they are at fault, as we are not too good to be working with such people. That's unskillful. That's arrogance. That's arrogance. That's self-righteousness. A lot of people are like that, They think they have Dharma, but no. It's their Dharma is just simply to feel good. And their skin deep kind of practice. When it really comes difficulty, they straight away run. That's not skillfulness. Then you just destroy everything what you try to do for so long. Without knowing the same taste, empty nature of both pleasure and suffering, one gave rise to the concept of attachment and aversion to the mental continuum. Seeking to repel them with antidotes, even antidotes were resorted to. One failed to gain the realization, even the concordant realization. Concordant cessation. Due to clinging to them as one to practice, one to reject, one cannot overcome the enemies of dualities. One doesn't realize that difficulties are our greatest teacher and forerunner of accomplishments. If one sort of faint-heartedly run and flee from difficulties, one will never have the ability to overcome that kind of difficulty ever, because then one will be always fearful, discouraged, and therefore shy and timid, and one could never. So therefore, the Buddha's skillfulness was he put up with the difficulty with the nature, the elements, under the tree, exposed all kinds of difficulties, so that his skillfulness was not to run away from difficulties. It's running the country wasn't that difficult. He just sat there on the throne. He just kept people through orders, and it wasn't that difficult. Don't get me wrong that thinking Buddha found running the country was too difficult. He just had enough. It's not like that. He wasn't growing at all. He was learning much at all, because in those times people will do everything for you. There's no challenges. So he realized this is a trap. This is a trap. So therefore he deliberately gave up those comfort and pleasures and respect and company and privileges and conveniences. So because you don't grow, you don't skillfully grow. How many kings were there in India? How many got enlightened? No one. They all killed their brothers and sisters and everything. What did they do? They all lost into the pool of greed, hatred, and ignorance, and they didn't do anything. Because why? They liked themselves so much. They didn't hesitate to kill their brothers, do all sorts of these things. Buddha, instead, he went to face the kind of ferocity of the heat and cold and dry and wet and all of that, to expose his body for the very purpose of developing the skillfulness to not become attached to the body, but in seeking of the truth and the Dharma. So that's exactly what we're talking about. That one needs to know how to do this. Having faith in the Dharma and hoping reward in the future makes oneself to anticipate, to practice in the future without practicing Dharma at present. So having faith in Dharma shouldn't be like Dharma will reward you something, because you have faith, and then ask the Dharma, now it's your turn to reward me, Dharma, the Dharma is not a person, At least a person, they might send you something. Dharma is not, so you can't hope the Dharma will help you. Dharma has to, facing difficulties, overcoming one's own irritability and impatience and laziness and short-temperedness and choosiness and the kind of nitpicking, all of these things, overcoming those things are the Dharma. Dharma is a restoration. A restoration has to have a lot of broken things, The Dharma is a workshop, All the broken things has to be brought to be mended. So therefore, you don't say, can you mend my bell, and then not bring the broken bell, You should bring in the broken bell. So all sentient beings are broken heart by so many things. And with that in mind, one shouldn't put off Dharma practice as something else in the future, but facing the difficulties and learning to conquer one's ego and the weaknesses is the skillfulness. Skillfulness of self-taming, it's called. Skillfulness of self-taming. Through the problems have not been remedied at present. If you don't remedy the problem in the present, one hopes to remedy them in the future when one practices Dharma then. No, I'll practice Dharma, then it will remedy. But in the meantime, it's too inconvenient to practice Dharma. So therefore, one needs to have the skillfulness of self-taming. Skillfulness of taming oneself. The method has been reduced to form only. So method, the skill. If your skillful method has been only to form only, just to when the boss comes, you just look things very good. They look there. As if you are really there on time or did everything right, but he's not there, not doing anything. So that kind of just try to deceive oneself, and others. Meaning. Looking good outside, but deep down there's no intention and no motivation to lift the weight at all. And oneself, if oneself cannot know one's own fault, you would be intolerant when somebody points it to you. so therefore, one has to be skillful to know how one's own mistaken behavior they are, because the concept of what to practice, what to reject, has been ignored. So it's not try to just superficially try to display something outwardly, but actually totally contrary to within oneself. That's self-deception, and every self-deception is every other deception. Every sincere things one is able to do, confront with oneself, even though difficult it may be, even though difficult it may be. So you should say, you can't have lunch today because you've been so rude today. Something like that. You can self-control something. That's just for children, I suppose. You can say, hey, you won't have coffee today because you didn't practice kindness to him. You start to sort of employ some kind of small punitive measure to yourself, instead of thinking that, oh, nobody noticed, it looks all good, like that. And then you don't govern or conquer yourself at all. So one who does not acknowledge or know his own faults will be intolerant when somebody shows it to you, if they are skillful. Most people, even when they say it's someone's fault, they are so unskillful way they show the faults of other people. So you just wish you didn't say it. It just totally went completely. It didn't. Some people could be very skillful without telling they are wrong, but you're starting to do things in a way and make the people see without putting them on the spot. So this is what it's talking about. When one has tamed oneself, what is to reject, what is to practice, and one has not ignored, then next time you will have the skill to actually do just that, so the other person's sort of weak spots are not are attacked. Their weak spot. Don't discuss the weakness of others, they call it. Don't discuss weakness of others, meaning not because they don't have, but you wouldn't be able to help them if you tell them. But still just try to do something skillful that they will pay heed to, that they themselves self-corrected. If you have the such skill to do self-correct and self-reject yourself, then one will be able to have the skill to dispense and dish that to other people. So, though one desired to cut it through, it has been left to faith to fulfill it. You're always wishing something will happen, but oneself is actually not taking liberty to what needs to do. Maybe it's hard now to give up something or admit your mistake, whatever. The thing to reject was ignored. Thing to reject was one checking one's intention or checking how inconsistent one is, trying to show off one thing outwardly, but doing one thing internally. I mean, this is not a kind of occasional thing. This is not some people do, other people don't. This every sentient being do all the time. They're so good at it. They're so good at it. The sentient beings are just so good at it. They become perfected in them. They become so perfected in them. They don't know how to get rid of it. The thing to reject was ignored due to the clinging to the objective of method, and that is reduced to a mere form. Yeah, it is to be mere show off, mere show off. Failure to reject it made the meditation to become ineffective. Yeah, sickness was left untouched. Yeah, real suffering, real problem was completely left untouched. Everything was superficially doing something outwardly, but deep down, one has never touched the real sickness at all. So, therefore, Dharma should not be outward form, outward show. If you do that, it's very unskillful, karmically speaking. Even though you manage to deceive one person, even to make yourself feel good and nobody minded or whatever, but it will the most unskillful way to deceive yourself karmically and dharmically. And therefore, you still think you should resort to some medicine or divination or rituals or something to repel the sicknesses. Those rituals will not work if you are not very sincere. those prayers doesn't work if you don't have prayer worthiness. Some people do lots of prayer, but still nothing. Why your karma doesn't have the weight to ripen the blessing of the prayer. Nobody's prayer work for you. And that's what the Buddha said. Look, I don't give holy water or remove people's faults. They have to realize themselves. So one should repel the ineffective remedy by oneself. So how much pseudo self-discipline, how much pseudo Dharma practice one is doing. So one needs to be almost like super anxiety about one's own pretense, one's own deception and dishonesty. This is talking about how to rectify one's own weaknesses and how to prevent them from staying. Even if one possess a vermilion dye, this is a Tibetan saying, since one has to beg the ochre from others, one's attitude did not adhere to the intent of the sutras and tantras. So meaning even though you are well versed in the Dharma, maybe its concepts and ideas and the intention of teaching, but you fail to implement them into your practice, So therefore you are actually looking for divination, rituals, and prayers of others to work as the Dharma, when actual Dharma is mental reconstitution of one's own self-transformation. Rituals got no power in itself unless one is practicing in a compatible, sincere acknowledgement, confession, or admission of one's own negativities or problems. So therefore, even if you think you believe in the Dharma, have faith in the Dharma, and the faith in the Dharma will cure you, it will not. Faith in Dharma doesn't cure. Faith in Dharma doesn't cure. Faith in the Dharma is an encouragement to one have, but Dharma doesn't cure you or wipe away your sufferings. It's our mental constitution has to shift it, dharmically speaking. Dharmically meaning that you actually transform your attitude, and that is Dharma. Dharma is not a thing, not a holy text. If the holy text kind of purify people's negative karma, we can tie all the holy texts around our neck. They say all the Buddhist prayer beads. You can have all the prayer beads everywhere. The heavier your body is, all weighed down by all these holy prayer beads and holy strings. So this is really good, because the most traditional Buddhists are always after the things, They want to get the holy water. They want to be the first one to get in the front. They don't realize that the Dharma is a mental constitution that you need to change. It's not so much of the outer form of being able to sit in the front or, get the first drop of the water from the vase from Dalai Lama or whatever, People say, I was the first in the front. People, Yashodhara, Buddha's wife, all the girls came really eagerly to meet the Buddha as a young prince in the hope of getting married. Everybody came rushing for, she was the most humble. She put everybody first. She came last, and then she won the prize. So Dharma practice has to be such humility, putting everybody ahead, and not put that kind of being they say, don't be the first to reach the summit. So always say, I'm the first one who did. People always say, I'm the first one who did this. I'm the first one who did this. Very dangerous. People say that all the time. I think people try to elevate their self-importance. I say to people, I'm the first Tibetan to come to Canberra, so what? So what? To show your uselessness or what? What are you talking about? To show how much you failed for your country? Yeah. As a refugee and have nothing? What did you do? Nothing. So there's that kind of miss. All the everything becomes wrong purpose. As one did not have the faith in the teachings of the Buddha, it will become a remarkable object of disparagement. If you really don't have faith in the Dharma, and by not practicing the Dharma, you think the Dharma will practice for you or something, or Dharma will sort of reward you because you have been praying to the Dharma so long. Almost checking the Dharma. Have my prayer reached its maximum? I did 4 millions, Even people do 4 million mantras doesn't mean that's practice of Dharma, Shantideva says, even if person recites, so eons, when the mind is distracted by selfish purposes for very hidden agenda, that is kind of, got a lot of people practice so much but bear no result. Why? They're completely unskillful. They're completely gone into the spiritual materialism. That's exactly. And so that's where the practice doesn't bear result. Not because practice doesn't have benefit, but it got hijacked by materialism and other importance. So it will become a remarkable object of disparagement by the learned ones, by the wise, of course, wise ones. How this is how sentient beings practice Dharma. As a result of engaging in such perverted application, view, meditation, and conduct, so this covers all, it is very difficult to correct such mistaken behavior once. Until such application, view, meditation, conduct, practice are completely overhauled by skillfulness. Attempting to appease the benefactor by inviting them for a night out dance show or offering them a feast, the Dharma practitioner is caught unaware of his intent for reputation. Yes, this is all this PR. Oh, the PR they call. The monastery's got lots of PR going on. It's actually the intention is like a fishing, Not very good. And by engaging in the acts of performing empowerment, consecrating ceremony, giving vow, performing rituals, Dharma practitioners are caught unaware of his greedy intent. So he's completely unskillful. He's caught in the things outward activity. Deep down, his own intent was has not been spotted by himself. So how skillful is that? Additionally, he thinks, I am an expert, disciplined, knowledgeable, respected by others, and Dharma practitioner is caught unaware of the power of his presumptive arrogance as the fault. So this is talking about the skillfulness in being able to distinguish between form and substance, appearance and intent. Appearance and intent, particularly, appearance and intent. Recognizing these as one's faults, first one should look at oneself and correct those flaws. So that's the skillfulness. So therefore one should look inwardly at oneself and recognize those flaws of oneself and starting to correct them. So because you cannot have a possessive conditioning to guard those skillfulness unless you are actually improving in correcting your own flaws by recognizing them as flaws. He should check himself. He should always, even the meditation in the prayer is only to check on himself. Try to recognize their faults, that they go unnoticed. One should think, I have entered the door of Dharma. I'm considered to be a senior practitioner, or a little bit knowledgeable than others. Others call me a practitioner, which I have accepted. I even say how many years I studied and how many mantras I recited, how many forms of meditation I know, and so on. What is my actual motivation? Telling them what I did. Telling them what I did. How have I conducted in the past? How am I conducting at present? How much have I changed, if any? Have there any improvement or not? So such kind of self-analysis is necessary. If I know how much of my lifespan remains ahead of me, what am I anticipating in my mind? Do I have enough time to correct them all? Do I have enough time left to correct them all? My mind is now at a crossroad, If one is engaged in study, contemplation, and so on, and one has sought fame and respect and gain and reputation in this life, in the past, is indeed seeking at present and intend to seek in the future, that is devoid of any meaning. That is not a practitioner. That's a bad practitioner. So being able to recognize, acknowledge oneself as a bad practitioner, and to tell that I'm a bad practitioner to people is a skillful one. What does it do is, if you tell people that I'm a bad practitioner, then others do not feel that bad, Otherwise, everybody's a little bit doubtful of how good they are, and they don't want to make any progress. If they saw someone skillful to talk about their humility and modesty, that's a skillfulness, So instead of boasting what one is good at, one should talk what one is inadequate at. Then so therefore you not only you are teaching other people to be tolerant and also modest. You don't expect people to be perfectionists, yourself or other people. See, the world is very much caused by that you have to be perfect. If you're not perfect, you're not good enough. That's very unskillful. So this teaching on perfection of wisdom is not perfection of wisdom at all. This is perfection of admitting your stupidity. And always say I'm deluded, In Tibetan, letter writing is like that. We always close the letters when we write to our teachers, especially. We always close the letters, yours deluded one. Yours deluded one. Yeah. Some they say, some people don't write only yours deluded one. They say, yours deluded one at the confluence of all delusions. So means you're full of all delusions. Dusumpa means you are like a place where all three rivers merge. So I'm where all the defilements merge. Dusumpa, deluded one. So So you should be always admitting your flawfulness, your inadequacies, your like that. This doesn't sort of demean yourself or lower your self-esteem at all. This actually makes everybody to know. Oh, they can also relate to you very well. They also can relate to you because they have a lot of sufferings, they have a lot of problems, and so therefore do not teach each other, oh, you should know this, or you should be good at that, or you still hasn't improved at all. Almost treating as if people should have progressed so much, as if you have so advanced so much by then, and then you expect them to have come this far. If you do that, people feel very, 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 very discriminated, not skillful, and people get discouraged. That's why Buddha always showed that he still have karma. Even Devadatta rolled a stone to him. It hit on his leg and it injured. And of course, Buddha is completely beyond getting injured by anybody. He can easily leap up and make the stone disappear. But he deliberately makes sure that he also still have karma. So it's good to know that everybody has karma, and then therefore don't become a perfectionist and not being able to tolerate people with suffering and problems. That's unskillful. We should accept everyone with their sufferings and problems if we have bodhisattva. So bodhisattva vows. Look at oneself. One has so full of problems. So how could one be so intolerant to other people with problems? It's amazing. It's amazing. This intolerant society. Practicing Dharma with such attitude will neither gain Buddhahood nor will attain even the stage of Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas. So these are supposed to be Mahayana practitioners who have conceived the Bodhicitta practice to reach benefit of sentient beings. But in the meantime, one hasn't made any progress or one hasn't any persevered even like any of the Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas. They actually gave practice renunciation. Their attitude may be to attain Sravakahood or only Arahathood, but they actually practice renunciation. So therefore one should not be so arrogant. Furthermore, it is even less likely to attain higher rebirth of gods and humans. So instead of gaining even Arahathood and Sravakahood, one wouldn't even gain a higher rebirth with this kind of attitude. So one need to admonish oneself for the superficiality, for the hollowness of one's own internal motivation that does the contradict with outer kind of behaviors. There's even far less likelihood that one will find happiness in the second half of this life. One will feel with regret and guilt and sense of complete failure. More certainly it will not. Being unaware how antidote has turned upside down, it will not stop the truth of origin. So the truth of origin is that this self-deception. If the origin is not stopped, effect of suffering certainly will not stop. No wonder why the suffering is still no sign of abating, because one is not causing any stoppage from the cause of the suffering that is caused by selfishness and self-deception and pseudo practice of Dharma. Is it possible that this cause any harm to the enemy? So this means that this will instead assist the enemy of existence. So enemy doesn't mean people, enemy of suffering. You're suffering. Would your suffering diminish or reduce by this kind of behavior? No. Instead of reducing the enemy of suffering, whatever the suffering are, it will exacerbate the very suffering that you don't want to encounter. Just as an overreaction of misdiagnosed medicine will harm more instead of curing the sickness, Dharma which is over applied as a remedy will be ineffective. Some people really think that when they practice Dharma, everything will be amazing within a few years. Because they heard the Dharma, the Vajrayana could reach enlightenment in one lifetime. They actually take those literally, They don't realize it means that it has the potential. It has the potential to reach enlightenment in one lifetime. Doesn't mean everybody will be because and then all of a sudden, they practice so hard and all of a sudden they just totally lost faith in the Dharma. Because they thought people's karma and affliction was so conquerable, so easy to do within one lifetime like that. So this will instead turn your own practice your enemy. People actually become more cross at the practice that they've been doing. They don't want to do the practice at all. They almost feel that angry at those who gave the practice. And they don't like the things they have, all the Dharma paraphernalia. They say, why do I have all this stuff? Because first looks like they're all very very necessary, First, because the more one has all of these things might boost one's enlightenment or something, So therefore, it's like a misdiagnosed medicine, If it's over-applied medicine, it's overdosing, overdosage, it's a many side effect. Like when people take the Dharma literally so much to just make artificial changes, artificial changes meaning, sure, you change your name, changes various things, we think everything. Of course, these are very good step if one has a really devotion. Every one step towards the Buddha is a good step, But if one makes those so kind of quickly as if that's going to change everything without any step of changing one's attitudes, one's own thoughts and emotions and so on. Again, falling under the sway of affliction, one is a Dharma practitioner only in name, then one is only in practice. So this section what we're reading tonight is almost putting the spot on yourself and then being able to recognize how sincere a practitioner I am and I'm not. That's really good skill, because you're then you're conquering yourself. You might not like it at the very beginning, but being able to have this aversion to one's own kind of hidden characters without being noticed is skillful. You're basically able to dig the real cause of the problem, and nobody's going to show that to you. Nobody can say that's the problem. And if one is not going to read this kind of text, and one is not going to read, and one thing, everything looks very hunky dory, looks very good outwardly, and he cannot be classified as a meaningful practitioner. The Perfection of Wisdom says, losing the path and going on the mistaken path is an act of the maras. Because person over-applied the Dharma, as if the practice of the outward form of Dharma will get them some mileage, and then the more they run, the less they reach, and then becomes the act of Mara. So then they become completely erroneously angry or aversive to the very thing they were trying to practice. What is the root origin of this mistake? They originate from desiring worldly gains, reputation in this life, and mundane gains. So when one's mind is for seeking such mundane, materialistic benefit, where does this arise from? This comes from self-grasping. Comes from self-grasping. Self-grasping is very difficult to detect unless one has a skill, one has an eye to spot it. So skillfulness of self-taming. Self-taming is, firstly, one needs to know what are the aspects of the roughness of the behavior of self that one is not noticing or spotting them, let alone learning to tame them. Therefore, one should develop wisdom realizing selflessness in order to destroy self-grasping. So, by adopting the selfless motivation of bodhicitta, motivated by the mind which cherished to attain enlightenment for the benefit of others, then the mind that has realized emptiness of self should become companion on the path when dealing with both opposing and agreeable views. One should train in being able to stay when you don't have any tangible success in your practice of Dharma, for which you thought there should be some signs of success, then you should think of the illusory nature of the all things, not just a result of Dharma. Even result of Dharma is to realize illusoriness of self. It's not that result of Dharma is that self gains some maximum benefit to put in your pocket. The result of Dharma is not put in the pocket of the self. The result of Dharma is to lose the self without the pocket. So the self should be pocketless and selfless. Not trying to gain something to put in the pocket of the self or some other kind of mundane worldly gains. When one is able to realize the illusoriness of even the benefit of Dharma, almost you couldn't really see the benefit of Dharma at all, but at all as a mundanely, materially speaking. But it has actually shown how illusory yourself are, and so the illusory like empty nature things is post-meditational instruction. Even post-meditation, you should think everything is an illusion. So whether your gains, even the gains are illusion, even your loss are an illusion, even yourself is an illusion, as are your faults. While holding the meditative stabilization on the meaning of emptiness, one should still think that everything is illusion, and therefore, as a mere expression, all phenomena from form all the way to omniscience are appearance and relative aspect, and emptiness in ultimate aspect. Very important. They abide in the non-dual nature of the true truth. All the Buddhas of the three times have gained this realization. The appearance of things are only relative, and ultimately they are empty. Therefore, they abandon all the needs to be rejected and gained direct realization of the wisdom. So, the meaning of the realization of these true truths does not have to concern only with the Buddha. There's no cause why it cannot be ours. All phenomena are equally non-dual. Buddha also did not seek it from outside. If he did not seek Dharma from outside, we too should not seek Dharma from outside. He didn't seek the Dharma. He had Dharma realization, So the realization of Dharma comes from within. Having understood this meaning by meditating with the distraction, then the deity will not arrive late in the future, because that meditation is the deity. Even deities are just a reminder to meditate. Deities are not so that you can have deities. Deities are so that you actually remain mindful. Deities are just a reference point of your mind so that you don't lose your mind. Whether it's emptiness, whether it's bodhicitta, whatever form, for whatever idea it is, to substitute them in the visible form, then the deity, or with the seed syllable, or deity with the hands, or deity with the eyes, or deity with the mouth, is taught so that you do not forget the bodhicitta, not so that you actually see the deity so much. Deity is a substitute so that you don't forget the bodhicitta. Deity is a reference point so that you do not, so that you do practice selflessness. Having understood this meaning, meditating upon the deity, the desire for fame will collapse. Desire for fame and worldly gain will collapse after realizing that seeking fame is cause of suffering and desire. So therefore, fame is emptiness. Fame is empty of importance. And fame gain for one's own benefit is, of course, people who have no understanding of this. So since the opposing factors are not agitated and disturbed by conception, the thief of conception will not enter the mind. So that's the idea at the very beginning, that one has been infiltrated by the thief of wrong conceptions. So subjectively, one must be able to be watchful to witness the wrong conception hijacking your mind by doubts or lack of kindness, or doubt, or remorse, or hate, or desire, or competitiveness, or dislike, or if these things are occurring, we need to see them as a thief. We need to be able to see them as a thief that is actually robbing your likelihood of practicing Dharma has been hijacked by these thief. Thief steals valuable things. Thief doesn't take your old shoes and then go. Thieves will come and take most valuable. People only talk about their jewelry. They took the jewelry. They never say he took my old shoes. Likewise, your wrong conception will kill your bodhicitta, kill your faith in the Dharma, kill your devotion in the practice. So that's why the thief, like wrong conception, should be tamed. Skillfulness. So one should be skillful to tame oneself by checking whether one's mind is being hijacked by a wrong conception or not. The root of qualities will increase from this. So the qualities of skillfulness comes from one's own ability to arrest the thieves, identify the thieves of wrong conception, and not let them stay or take hold of you. And that is the possessive conditioning, so that you are not vulnerable to be deceived by your own thief of wrong conceptions. So there will be no fault of turning the antidote upside down. Then the Dharma will not be have a pervert effect to you, because you actually are able to spot the thief of yourself. The spotter of the thief is the Dharma. Okay, spotter of the thief is the Dharma. And then you're practicing, and the strength of this virtue will be complete. And then you will, because you are mindful of to guard your mind. This is Shantideva saying. Why you need so many discipline other than guard your mind? Yeah, you do not need many disciplines than to guard your own mind. So the practice of Dharma is guarding the mind, purifying the mind, shifting, transforming, and to purifying the mind. That is the practice of Dharma. Then, of course, you don't have to, your priority is not to impress on other people. Your priority is not to seek approval of other people. Your priority is not never mind other people criticize you. That's probably you need it most. The more people criticize you, that most it will help you to arrest your thief inside you. Isn't it? If people criticize you, then you say, oh, good, maybe he's seeing the thief I can't see. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's what the Langtangpa said. Give the credit to all the others except all the blames. Because if somebody blames you, it's probably spotting something that you have difficulty spotting yourself. Spotting yourself. See, this is the practitioner is that people's criticism does become cause of your practice of Dharma. Said the digdip chashing means your misdeeds and obscuration become the broom that sweeps your karma. So when you are a true practitioner, then there is no. So there will be no fault of the antidote becoming upside down, and so the Dharma conducts will not have been ignored. Your Dharma conduct has not been ignored because you're minding your own mind. You're minding your own mind. If somebody says something bad to you, and you say, wow, this is teaching. This is teaching. This is real teaching. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's what. Give credit to others. Why? When they blame you. See, this is the fitness. We're talking about the fitness here. People might think you're guilty. Of course you're guilty. I mean, you think you're completely innocent? Come on, don't be so arrogant. You're guilty of so many things. This is not just that one. So that's what Langtangpa was gloomy face. When he got to spot his fault, he said, there's so many faults, he doesn't have a time to smile at himself. When everybody screamed and yelled and criticized, he said, thank you. I just can't help myself. Thank you for helping me. I can't spot I had this many thieves. I'm totally ransacked by thieves from my own deluded mind, and now you're helping me to tell me that's the case. So it's very amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so your Dharma conduct has not been ignored. Your Dharma conduct has been guarded. Why? Guarded meaning the very, very spotting your own thieves inside you is the practicing Dharma. Not spotting that is reciting mantras. It doesn't spot that. As you're exploring the murals and walls and things like that doesn't spot you. Reciting mantra so that you can spot some of the thieves. So don't look at the moon. Don't look at the finger. Look at the moon. So the mantra. Don't talk about how many mantras you did. How many spottings you do. Are you able to spot some of the thieves of selfishness and all of that by realizing the non-dual taste of harmonious and opposing factors? See, this is now you realize non-duality of harmony and opposing factors. If somebody harms you or opposes you, criticizes you, you don't see that negativeness of that. If you reject it, it's negative. If you accept it, even negative is positive. See, non-duality of opposing and harmonious factors. Their criticism is their criticism become advice to you when you are practitioner. Yeah, their praise become cause of worry for you when you're practitioner, because you say, I'm worthy of that praise. Some people aren't praising me enough. This person at least praised me. Thank goodness I got some praise. Yeah, that's a trap. So falling in the worldly Dharma trap again. So trap of Dharma, trap of that. So what is the practice? What is to reject will not be discriminated. Yeah. So you do not think that practice of Dharma is only people treating you nicely, respectfully, courteously. You think that's their practice of Dharma, don't you? But it's dangerous for your ego, if But even if they're opposite, they're discourteous, they're a little bit rough and aggressive, you don't say they're aggressive and like that. Just accept them as a way to purify your own aggression to other people. When you do that, that is Dharma practice is happening. That is Dharma practice. His Holiness was saying today, not today, but someone put it on shared and I listened. He says, we Buddhists spend so much money when somebody dies. Put so many thousands of lamps and these things. And he says, why don't you practice when they're alive? He says, why don't they practice giving when they're alive, when they're wasting on just oils and making all the temples just covered with soot, He says these are just what he calls cultural Buddhism going in the extreme, spending so much money on to think that you are appeasing or repaying the kindness of parents. During that alive, you should be generous to them, you should be courteous to them, you should be tolerant to them, you should do all the